I'm ready. Just let me know when we go on the air.
We're on the air.
Are we live?
Yeah, we have been since before you said to let you know.
I usually start talking when that thing turns yellow.
It is yellow.
Right.
It's been yellow for like a minute.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to SuggestCast.
Ben, that's Lewis.
Lewis, welcome them.
Hey everybody, welcome to SuggestCast. I'm the moderator. We have with us tonight Benjamin Hopscotch Heaton, Matt the Raptor Smith, and Vincent Def Leopard Watkins.
Good evening.
Hello.
Apologies if I leave in the middle. It's just because I'm tired and don't care that much about staying for the whole thing.
Well, just fall asleep during the show. There's no reason to leave.
Yeah, you can keep the video call open.
It's
Well, your camera isn't on, so we won't be able to see if you're sleeping or not.
I snore, so you'll figure it out that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see, I forgot that because you usually use that machine.
Yeah. Also, we don't sleep in the same room, usually.
Well, but last time we did, you had that machine.
What machine?
The one that makes you not snore.
Okay, I don't understand, but...
It's a machine for breathing while you sleep, and it helps with snoring.
Okay. Let's talk about Wayne's World.
Alright, well,
What was the suggestion?
So the Raptor's suggestion was to watch Wayne's World.
right.
Yeah.
Who observed that suggestion?
I did.
I did.
Okay, I did not, but I meant to, but the week got away from me. So.
That almost counts. The other suggestions were... I suggested the card game Win-Lose Banana,
Yeah.
and Vincent suggested the website Rinkworks, specifically its Book a Minute and Movie a Minute summaries.
Right.
So let's start with Wayne's World.
Yeah. Skipping my moderation role. Fine, go for it. But Hopscotch is now the moderator. Chaos abounds.
Oh,
Great.
Alright, so Lewis, let's start with your reactions. When you watched Wayne's World this week, what did you think of it?
I thought about the scene where with the gun rack.
Oh, yeah, I don't even have a gun.
Yeah, like it's all about the pronunciation of the word "a" there.
Yeah, you pronounce it that way.
That whole scene is made with.
Yeah.
I don't own a gun, let alone many guns, enough to necessitate a rack. It all relies on the really emphasized pronunciation of "a." But it's kind of a weird sort of joke, because, like, you know how some humor is, like, making fun of things that actually happen. Another humor is like, oh, this is so crazy. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if a thing like this happened? And the joke there is a combination of those two that should make it not work, because you can't you can't do the, like, hey, isn't this so ridiculous when people give you a gun rack? Like, that doesn't happen.
Well, no, that's sort of a stand-in for gifts that aren't personally useful to you.
I know, but it's to heighten how crazy her gift is. But then that should undercut his, like, mocking it, because the scriptwriter is the one who came up with a crazy gift like that.
Well, that doesn't really undercut for me, because I know going in that none of these events are real.
No, but what I mean is, like, alright, suppose she gave him, like, a houseplant. Like, there's a humor to making fun of a houseplant as gift, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing people give as gifts, like housewarming gifts a lot. They bring you a plant, and, like, a plant is a chore. So you can make a joke about how they're giving you, like, a thing that is now, like, more work for you. There's
So
a
it's
joke.
like, is that really how you think of houseplants?
A little bit, yeah.
Huh.
Isn't that how you think of them?
Well, I mostly don't think of them. I don't keep houseplants.
Well, you get my point. Like,
Yeah.
there's a limit to how much you can do this joke of, like, how crazy is it that you did that? Well, of course it's crazy. You wrote a thing to be specifically crazy in the script.
I don't know that it was supposed to be just crazy, just that it's completely useless and a terrible gift.
Well, you could put other things on a gun rack.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't mind if somebody gave me a gun rack as a gift.
No, but you guys, okay, hang on. My point is not, yeah, it doesn't...
Lewis,
It's crazy.
aren't there a lot of movies about Batman?
What is this now a running gag?
Yeah,
I don't
I
really
was
think.
trying to make it one, but it was kind of forced, so I don't think it will be a running gag.
Yeah. Anyway, so the only scene Ben remembers from Wayne's World is the gun rack gift scene.
That's the only one Lewis remembered.
Well, it's not the only one I remember. That's the one that I mentioned.
So,
I also remember the Shitty Beatles line. That's a really good line.
Oh, yeah, the band's named Shitty Beatles.
And the one where they write the mean stuff on the back of the cards to make fun of him.
Okay, the thing I liked about that bit was not just the mean stuff on the cards themselves, but the bit where the guy who handed him the cards to begin with is talking to other people in the booth, reacting to this, and he says, "Sir, I can assure you that those phrases were not on the cards when I handed them to him."
Yeah.
oh man,
He delivers it very earnestly, and of course nobody would have thought that he'd written those things on the back of the cards.
right, but his whole
And
character
it also
like,
doesn't make the situation any better.
he's sort of like Brett from Eagleheart, well, like a really toned down because he's so earnest in everything, and he like genuinely believes that Benjamin and his friend is his friend, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think Rob Lowe did a really good job of acting like a guy who's completely insincere and is totally just wanting to use you for your to exploit you, you know.
Hey, hang on, Hopscotch. I don't want to step on your toes as guest moderator,
Okay.
but you probably shouldn't let Matt talk this much during the initial discussion.
Oh yeah.
It is his suggestion, after all.
I don't usually suggest things, so I'm not used to the role.
The role of listening to other people talk frustratingly about the thing you suggested and miss the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I also liked the product placement bit where they're talking about how they don't want to sell out and just do sponsorship stuff for the arcade, and while they're doing that, there is very obvious product placement for like Pepsi and Pizza Hut and so on.
Increasingly, until they literally changed the filming technique for the Aleve one, where it turns to grayscale with just the yellow.
Yes, just the pills in the hand.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing there is whenever they cut back to Benjamin trying to get back on the topic, he pauses for a moment before he starts resuming the conversation. It's like a switch goes on in him. You can actually see his expression change for a moment. It's like he as a character has been turned off to allow for this product placement parody interlude.
Like in Community when Abed stops pretending to be the person and they just sort of freeze.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the name of that episode is. The holodeck episode. Vincent, you've been quiet.
Yeah. Oh, it made me so sad to watch this movie today.
Why?
And I would recommend that no one who has good memories of Wayne's World ever watch it again, because I remember it as a movie I loved as a kid, and I thought, this is going to be great. I remember all the funny stuff that was in this movie, and it's nostalgic, but I'm sure it held up over time and all. It was so disappointing. It was so lame.
Now that's interesting because I had not seen this movie before. I found it enjoyable but not exceptionally noteworthy.
Wait, Ben, you'd never seen Wayne's World before?
Right.
What?
What?
No.
Well, I've seen it now.
What?
I have.
Okay.
Lewis, SuggestCast is in... What would be the point of Matt suggesting it if we had all seen it?
I don't know. I assumed he still thought everybody had seen it because I assumed everybody has seen it.
Well, that's not true. Well, it might be true now that I've seen it.
Sorry, Vincent, you were saying. Like, examples of things that were good in your memory and not good now?
Well, I think it's more that I kind of just excised from my memory the 80% of the movie that's
Okay. So you still remembered.
Yeah, I mean,
like the funny parts were still funny to you, right?
Yeah, for the most part. And
Well, when I say the funny parts, you know what I mean.
yeah, but like remember when we were talking about Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I said what I like about it is that it doesn't rely entirely on this character being quirky. It's like maybe the first 15 minutes are, hey, look at Pee-wee Herman, what a crazy dude, but then the rest of the movie is he's in this totally crazy world. And then Lewis, I think, not during the episode we talked about it, but at another point, some point, he said he gave Wayne's World as another example of that. And I said, yeah, that's another good example. That's a good movie where like the world is just full of funny stuff. It's not just Wayne being crazy. But
Right, like Alice Cooper wanting to just talk about the history of Milwaukee.
Yeah, see, that was decent. And Ed O'Neill, that's his name, right?
Yes.
His part was great, but it's
Was he the donut store owner?
I'm sorry, what?
He's the donut store dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His part was his little cameo there was really good, but that stuff was much less of the movie than I remember it, and a whole lot of the movie just isn't it funny the way this guy talks? Isn't it funny the attitude that these guys have? And boy, I mean, it was a huge movie at the time, and I think it changed the way that people talk, even without them realizing. Like the joke you were just highlighting with the "I don't even own a gun."
Yeah.
I never heard anyone accentuate like that before to specify that they're talking about one thing. They would have just said, I don't even own a single gun, let alone many. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that you would hear now. Some stuff that caught on for a little bit, but it was still too obviously Wayne World specific, was like not. I remember when I was a kid, people would say that not shit all the time. It was such a... What's that?
No, I think that precludes Wayne's World.
You mean
The knot, really?
Precedes, yeah, that's it.
Oh, well, I
Wayne's
don't
World
know.
popularized it, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'll bet
I don't know.
the on not in Wikipedia says. Hang on.
Oh,
Well,
man.
there's one restriction for this episode is that we can't check Wikipedia during it.
No, that you're thinking of a different show.
You're also not supposed to use the word that describes about a 30 or 31 day period of the month. There are 12. Oh, shit. Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. But there was so much of the movie that was kind of like formulaic movie stuff and unfunny scenes, or like scenes where they like almost were trying to make you take the plot seriously.
Mm-hmm.
That it was really it was kind of, it was depressing to me just because this was such a big part of my childhood to see that it's really not that great. It shouldn't be that depressing. Not everything you liked as a kid you have to love as an adult. I'm just kind of the person who does still like everything I liked as a kid. But like, you know how comedies always have this formula where like right before, I guess what they call the third act, the protagonist like gets in a fight with his girlfriend and all his friends, and everything's wrong, and he reaches his lowest point, and then he has to make this comeback. Like that happens in all these formulaic comedies.
Sure.
I mean, in this one, it happens in such a ridiculous, artificial way. Like there's just no reason for it. Like he gets fired from the show, so he leaves, and then he gets in a fight with Garth because he left. He got fired from the show, and when they're fighting, he doesn't even say that. He doesn't even say, "Well, they fired me, so I left."
Yeah,
And
that
then-
was weird.
And Garth is like, well, you should have told me before you left. And then, you know, the natural reaction would have been, you're right, that would have been polite to say, you know what, their conversation makes no sense. It's just like, well, I'm angry at you. I'm angry at you, dude. And then he gets in a fight with Cassandra for no reason. He's like, she's going to shoot a music video with Benjamin. And he knows that she's going to shoot a video with Benjamin. But all of a sudden he's like, maybe you're sleeping with Benjamin. And... oh, all right, I guess you broke them up, so that gets him to his lowest point. So there you go. You fit your comedy formula. It was so forced and unfunny. I do think the multiple ending thing they did was... I like that they did not pick a definitive ending. Like, the movie essentially ends with no real ending. Because the first ending is bad, and then they say, that's not the real ending, forget about that. They do the Scooby-Doo ending that doesn't make any sense. And then they do the mega happy ending, which they then reveal that's a little scam. So there really is like no canonical ending. There is no end to the story. It
Wait,
just
they reveal that the mega happy ending is a scam?
right. Remember they do the fished in stuff.
Yeah,
The
where
what?
they go fishy. I still don't.
The gills and that. I liked the first ending the best.
Sorry, I don't remember the...
Well,
Are they happy?
somebody needs to watch Wayne's World.
If only someone had suggested it to me.
You know, this is not a unique phenomenon, but for me, this is the best example I've ever personally felt of something that you experienced at the time when it was current, and you thought it was great and so influential and well done, and then, you know, decades or however long down the road, however long it's been, you look back and it's like, boy, it's just not any good anymore. Because usually I can hold on to stuff pretty tight, you know, stuff that I liked and still get stuff out of it. But this is something where I really have to say that this was kind of its time, and it was big at the time, but it's not going to be, I don't think, a classic movie that people are watching ever again, really.
Now, Wayne's World 2, on the other hand.
Lewis, I haven't seen that yet. No spoilers.
I thought we were allowed to spoil anything when we're doing suggestions.
No. Yeah, I guess that's true, especially since Vincent's suggestion for this week was basically spoilers for everything.
Are we suggesting all of them? Because I just read a handful.
That's good.
Yeah, Wayne's World
That's
wasn't
fine.
even on that list.
I know, I checked for that.
It'd be hard to do. Like, doofuses get a TV show. It doesn't go well, then it does. And
Some of them can be... Well, wait, we should save our discussion of that site for later in this episode.
yeah, well moderated.
I didn't like Wayne's World 2 very much. I don't think I hated it, but I didn't think it was as good as the original, and I kind of wonder now whether it's because it was actually worse or just because I had grown up a little. Like, maybe if I had been as old the first time I saw Wayne's World 1, I would have felt the same way about it.
But the real question is whether you'd like it more now. More than you like Wayne's World. Like, maybe it's better as a movie, but it didn't have as many of the, like, memorable jokes.
That could be.
It's possible.
I don't have any reason to think that that is true.
It could be, and I wouldn't really have anything to lose from watching it because I don't have any emotional baggage, you know, associated with it. I've always thought that everything Mike Myers did after that I didn't like. Like, I hated the Austin Powers movies.
Yeah.
I don't like any of the...
Was
Sorry.
Somebody Married an Axe Murderer or before or after?
That's a
I
good
think
question.
after.
Then I retract it then because that was I remember that being okay, but I don't want to go back and watch it and find out.
Head! Paper! Now!
Oh, that's right. He did that old man character in there. That was a little unnecessary.
I watched his first dramatic role set in Ireland. It's a movie called Pete's Meteor. It is atrocious. I do not recommend it.
It's called what?
Pete's Meteor.
Heat Meteor?
No, Pete. P-E-T-E''S Meteor. It's on Netflix Instant.
Is it
When
like
did-
Meteor Man?
No, it's more like Angela's Ashes, but with Mike Myers.
When
I
did
don't know Angela's Ashes. I only know Meteor Man.
Okay, it's about a group of depressing Irish children,
Good.
and Mike Myers is their drug-dealing uncle.
Oh, is it the one where they turn out to be ghosts?
No.
No.
It's just a straight drama, except a meteor lands in their backyard. I promise you this movie is less exciting than I'm making it sound.
I don't know. The meteor sounds exciting. They get superpowers from it?
No.
Like a certain man.
No, if that happened, I would have said it was like Meteor Man.
Well, it could have been different in other ways.
Yeah. You know what? If you're not careful, it's going to be my suggestion.
Yeah, you can suggest whatever you want.
I understand. Don't make me suggest that.
Alright, we're getting a little off topic here. Matt, what did you have in mind when you suggested Wayne's World?
Well, partially just to see if it did hold up and see if you would, you know, like remember something, or I guess I kind of just recommended it for myself to see if I would notice things about the film that I didn't when I was a child. And I kind of disagree with Vincent in that he believes that the film is ever at any point asking us to take it seriously. I mean, it all just seems like.
What about the scene when he gets in a fight with Cassandra? I mean, there's no joke there when he says.
I did not care about the relationship nearly as much as I felt the movie wanted me to.
I thought their relationship advanced like way too quickly, but you know, it's a movie.
Well,
again.
yeah.
Yeah, that was bad too. It's like he goes to see her once, and she seems really offended by everyone is kung fu fighting line for some reason. And when he has to see her, he's like, "Come, you can pay to see me in a show." And so he comes to see the second show, and it's like, "Wow, you came to see me a second time? Let's go up to the roof."
Well, and then he impresses her by having learned Cantonese.
Yeah,
Vince, you understand she was offended because it was a little bit racist, right?
No,
it wasn't racist, but whatever. If that's the purpose, if that's the
Ben is
reason.
colorblind. He can't see those kinds of jokes.
yeah, he was offended by that racism, but then she gets really impressed when white guys try to speak Cantonese around her.
Yeah, that's because the movie's a little bit racist.
Oh, one thing I noticed, the bit where Wayne is in bed with her and he's doing the camera 1, camera 2 thing.
Way too far apart.
That too, yes. But I was actually going to say it's an awfully literal interpretation of the male gaze.
What is?
I mean, that's more on the nose than that generally is in movies.
You roll my eyes big enough? Can you see if you're like?
I could see, but I was looking for it.
Okay.
That's an interesting take. But anyway, what I wanted to say about this movie is that, like, once the part of the movie that Vincent hates so much, where like, you know, Wayne reaches his lowest point happens, the whole movie starts coming apart at the seams. Like, there's this huge jump in like fourth wall breaking. I mean, they've been doing it casually, you know, through the whole movie. You know what I mean? Like, where they talk directly to the camera. And
60% of Garth's lines are addressed directly to the camera.
Right, there's the bit where he pretends to drop his pen just so he has a chance to look at the camera
Right.
from down below.
But they never did anything as big as opening a door to a room where a bunch of people are being trained, like in James Bond. Like,
They weren't shown to have the control over their reality that they had afterwards.
Yeah. And that's necessary in order to make their bizarre hacking plan work.
right, and then they have the bizarre hacking plan. Like, once Wayne reaches his lowest point, like, everything starts coming apart. Like, they don't even care that they're supposed to try to fit these things together logically. I think that is something that I really like about it. And of course, it ends with no real ending, like Vincent had mentioned earlier. Like, it comes apart so much that there's not even really a definitive ending.
Wait, sorry, can you explain this to me? I just assumed the mega happy ending was the definitive ending. What happens at the very end to doubt that?
They all like start going fishy and then doing like the fish gills thing, and man, that's a lot of gunshots.
What the fuck
Anyway,
is the fish gills thing? Say it like I haven't watched the movie last week.
I'm sorry, Lewis, I missed that.
I said, what is the fish gills thing? Tell me like I didn't watch the movie in the last week.
Okay. No. This is something they used to do on Saturday Night Live as well. They'd say "fished in," and it's when they've told someone a lie and they've gotten them to believe it, and then they're revealing that it was a lie, and they say "fished in," and they start doing this fish stuff, and they're making fun of the person who believes something really stupid. So that's the big happy ending. Everyone comes in and everyone's talking about how they've learned a lesson and their lives are better. And then
They say, like, isn't it great that we're all better people now?
yeah.
I don't ever saw that part of the movie. Like, that doesn't even sound a little bit familiar to me.
No,
That's
it's the happy ending where everybody is addressing the camera and talking about how everything's been tied up neatly and so on.
Yeah, I don't remember a part at the end where they were like, psych.
Well, they don't say psych, they say fish in or whatever.
Yeah, that's really weird because that scene has always stuck out to me like a sore thumb about that movie.
That's weird to me.
It is true, though, that in Wayne's World 2, the mega happy ending was essentially the correct canonical ending. Right? I mean, Wayne's World 2 continues from the mega happy ending of Wayne's
In Wayne's World continuity, I don't believe that Wayne's World 2 is canon.
It's very different in the manga.
So is the canon Wait, is the canon just Wayne World 1 in some sort of animated series, or what?
No, there's no other movie.
Not even the Saturday Night Live sketches?
No, it's just the movie Wayne's World.
Okay.
The Saturday Night Live sketches took place in a separate timeline. It's all hyper time.
I also would like to know if Dana Carvey is actually very skilled at beating the drums, or if he's just like an average drummer.
I know
He's
that
better.
he's able to play instruments.
He's better at pretending to play the drums than most people who pretend to play drums but really can't. I'll say that much.
Well,
Yeah, I think he sold it.
even
Yeah.
on the Dana Carvey show, he would go up into the stands and play drums.
I mean, he's a musician as well as a comedian.
I remember never being very impressed by that drum solo, though, even as a kid.
Vincent, not very impressed by is your primary state of being.
It is
Well, I
certainly not the best drum solo I've ever heard. It's better than I was expecting from Guard.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I like
Okay.
the stairway joke. There's a no stairway joke in there, right? You're not
Oh
allowed
yeah,
to.
I was
Yeah,
ready to make
that's fine.
where they
Oh, that-
point at that sign. That is the seed for every stupid sign joke that I ever wrote in that gas station comic strip.
I thought that was a good joke. I like the no stairway to heaven joke.
Was it the bet? Would you say? Were you impressed by the joke, Vincent?
You know what really did impress me in this movie was, is her name Tia Carrera? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I think her acting in this movie was stellar. And she doesn't always have a lot to work with. But if you watch her reacting to things in scenes where she just has nothing to do, she sells it. I mean, she's great. Half the time, she's just sitting there saying nothing while Wayne's saying something stupid or talking to the camera. I think she did a great job. And I think she probably went on to just star in nothing except Showdown in Little Tokyo. It's too bad. I think she had some skills there.
All right.
She would have been great on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I guess if you're good at reacting to people doing things and you don't have a lot to work with, then Curb Your Enthusiasm would be a good show to be on.
Yeah. That's why I said it.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. All they need are people who can instantly get angry about nothing. That's the only emotion you need to be able to show. Unreasonable anger at the drop of a hat.
What about the guy? Trying to remember his name.
Dana Carvey.
No, he's on Curb. He plays the brother or the cousin
Larry
of
David.
who come to live with him.
Oh, I don't know. I know the guy. I don't know his name.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
He
he
doesn't
has
get mad.
short hair.
He's black, and he is like the funniest character on the entire show. And he has to pretend to be the accountant who got over Groat's disease
I don't think I saw that one.
to convince Kramer to be on the reunion show. All right. Anyway,
All right. So moving on. Wayne's World. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
What are we? Wait, I'm still not clear on what's the cultural touchstone here. What are we supposed to be referencing this movie for?
I'm not sure. Well, personally, because I have existed in the culture without seeing this movie for longer than any of you, I don't feel like my ability to reference it was diminished by not seeing it. I already knew that they say not, and maybe monkeys will fly out of my butt. And I also knew it was an example of a movie with multiple endings. That part is actually crucial.
did you know about the gun rack scene? And
Oh, I did.
Did you know that?
Actually, that's interesting because you say whatever that way to emphasize it sometimes, and
Yeah.
until watching this, I'd not realized that that's where you got it.
Yep.
All right, so I did gain something from watching this, but not enough. I'm giving this a thumbs down.
All right. Def Leppard, how about you?
I gotta give it a thumbs down. If you've seen it before, don't watch it again. If you've never seen it, it's not worth your time.
It's not worthless, though. There are funny bits in there.
Yes.
By giving it a thumbs down, I'm not saying it is unfunny.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up, and I will tell you why.
You didn't even watch it.
But I've seen it before. And
Well, but did you hear Vincent's assessment just now?
I did, and part of Vincent's assessment is why I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Interesting.
Because, so first off, there's one level where I would say of all the things we've recommended, or suggested on this show, this is the one that most has the feature, if you have not watched it, there is in fact cultural references in your life that you don't have the grounding for. Like, you just don't understand the context of some of the things. Like, this probably has the most cultural permeation of anything we've discussed.
Well, is it important cultural permeation?
Yeah.
Important? What? Show us this!
Did you see the
Like, when
episode?
would you need to refer back to it and be glad that you have this to use as an example?
Sorry?
Moose, did you miss the episode where we discussed the collected works of Shakespeare?
I think I did. I think I did.
I get that a thumbs down. They were kind of boring and most of the plots were ripped off.
Yeah. Ugh. Why is everything an adaptation, right? Like, make up your own stories, dude.
Sad.
No, I think it's good in the following way, as a suggestion from Matt, having to do with both Vincent's reaction and the difference in Matt's reaction, because Matt felt like it held up in the ways that he was interested in. Vincent conceded that all of the stuff that he remembered being good about it was good, and yet rewatching it radically altered his opinion of the movie. Like, it's not like he went back and he's like, these jokes aren't that funny because I'm not 6 anymore. It's that he went back and he was like, oh, now that I'm not 6, I care about more than just if there are some funny jokes in it. And so I'm giving it a thumbs up because I think that's an important difference between things that, like, where, like, you liked it as a child and you don't like it now because you're responding differently to the same parts, versus you're now responding to different parts than you were responding to before. So, thumbs up from me.
Fair enough. And Matt Raptor Smith.
The Raptor.
Matt Raptor Smith, do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Thumbs up. I think it was still, I think there's still something interesting about it.
Alright, so that's 2 votes up, 2 votes down. What do you, the audience, think? Let us know and resolve this tie. And now we'll move on to the popular card game Win-Lose Banana.
Ah, Ben, I have curse words for you.
Okay.
This game is dumb. I'm not going to say the curse word. You don't even deserve it.
Just give us the first letter.
Alright, well, first of all, who here played it?
We all like each other.
Okay. Who here played it in person with actual cards or some other randomizing object?
We used to pick a randomizing object and we played it over video chat.
Alright, so I play it with people at a game night in person.
Happy about
Fortunately,
that?
at game night this week, some new people showed up, so I was able to play it with people who had never played this game before.
Yeah.
We'll see if they come back.
So item one, the game is designed. There's like 2 rules, and they got one of them wrong. Because
Elaborate on that.
okay, so here are the rules of the game. You deal out the 3 cards. One person is win. One person gets the win card. One person gets the lose card. One person gets the banana card. The person with the win card reveals it, and then has to guess which of the other persons got the banana card or the lose card. Whoever they pick wins, but if they pick the person who got the banana card, they also win.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it should be that the person who gets the banana card reveals it, and the other people try and convince them that they have the win card.
But
Because if you have 3 cards, win, lose, banana, and you're going to group 2 of them together, the 2 that you group together are win and lose, because that's the only sensible way to do it.
But wait, but with that, then everybody knows who has the banana, so there's no challenge to guess that.
You try and guess who has the win card.
But that's not as fun. It's more fun to speculate about a banana.
Ben, I'd like to invite you to tell Vincent and Matt what you mentioned to me after we were talking about this last time that they did not hear.
I forget what I said to you about it.
You were explaining that the game was designed after the cards were already a different game.
Oh, well, I think the single-player game came first, yes.
Explain how the single-player game works.
The single-player game works as follows. One person has the deck of 3 cards, shuffles them, then reveals a card from the top, and it tells that person whether they won, lost, or banana.
That's
a much simpler game, and I think a lot less interesting, which is why it's not what I suggest.
But that was designed first, and then they were like, "Oh, let's make a multiplayer game."
Yeah.
Okay.
And that multiplayer game, that 3-player game, is what we're discussing today.
All right. So I've talked a bit already about my feelings. Raptor, why don't you share some of your...
You said they got 2 things wrong, didn't you?
No,
he said they got one of the 2 things wrong.
Oh.
I said there were 2 rules, and one of them was wrong.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I kind of
Yeah. Go ahead.
I kind of disagree with Lewis. I think it is much funnier to speculate about who is Banana, and I think he might be a little bit sore about being Banana.
Oh my God, we played like 15 times, and I was 13 of them.
Well, that will happen sometimes.
So
true randomness.
The only thing I could do is keep saying, "Ugh, I'm Banana again."
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, it worked one of the times that I wasn't Banana. That they were convinced that I was in fact Banana.
I think if I really wanted to review this game, I'd have to play, several more hours of it. But
I don't think you need to play it that much.
I think
a half hour of playing it will.
Ben, having played it a bunch.
Yeah.
I don't think that I hated it. I think it could have been a much more enjoyable experience if we'd all been in a more relaxed atmosphere.
Well, that's on you. I didn't tell you to not be relaxed when you played it.
Well, it seemed like we were just kind of like trying to bang it out, like, hey, let's do this terrible card game idea.
But
I think
about it.
I think
not let Lewis prejudice you about whether or not it's terrible.
No,
I think the thrust of the game
came to the conclusion.
I think the thrust of the game isn't really supposed to be so much about the game itself as inspiring candid conversation between friends who are playing the game. Or that's how I imagine it. That's my idealized version of win, lose, banana.
What happened?
Is that you're playing the game, but you're not really caring about the game.
See, there's already a better game for that, though. It's called the Color Country game.
I don't know what that is.
Well, the Color Country game is 2 players.
You could play it 3-player.
Could you? I've never seen that done.
There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't easily just say, like...
Have you ever played it with more than 2 players?
I think so. The Color Country game is this. Players take turns saying the names... saying a color.
Or a country.
Or a country.
If you say a country, you lose.
You can say words that aren't colors or countries. You can repeat colors. You can say multiple colors before another person takes a turn.
There's no time limit on turns.
Right. So in essence, after a little bit of just saying colors back and forth, you just start having regular conversation, and it's a contest to see who forgets that they're not supposed to say country words first.
Oh man, so it's like a more advanced version of brain chess. Or mind chess.
Mind chess is very different. Mind chess...
Yeah, mind chess, even if you are paying attention and you stay focused on the game, it's possible to lose due to being outplayed.
Lose both in the technical sense of losing the game and lose in the broader sense of honor.
Right. Okay, I see that Vincent has fallen asleep out of disgust.
Vincent, let's hear your thoughts on Win, Lose, Banana.
Well, I would say, number one, I don't think that playing it was any different than we anticipated that playing it would be. So even if this game were useful to reference as like a terrible game or a really bad idea for a game or something, I still don't think that people would need to play it in order to be able to reference it, because you hear the rules and you pretty much know how it's going to go. I'd say I personally probably hated the game more than anyone, because I'm just so uncomfortable with being dishonest. Like, even in the context of a game, I hate games.
I can testify to that. The first time the first time we were playing, and Matt won, and Vincent had lose, and I had banana, Vincent announced that he had lose. He's not.
What's that due to?
It is not a way to double bluff. You can't.
Or is that just that he didn't understand the game?
Nope, he understood it. And then he said, "I'm just really not comfortable lying, especially if something is stupid, and I don't want anyone to know my tells, because if I am ever gonna lie, I want to be able to do it well."
I thought that was
that's not a very trust-inspiring reason to give.
No, it means unless you have reason to think it's a really big deal for him to lie about, you can pretty much take his word.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe any of what Vincent said about his reluctance to lie.
I don't know. It's literally. And then he observed that it might be helpful in future rounds of the game for him to have done that in the first round.
That I believe.
It's helpful like once, which doesn't really get you any further ahead. When I was in high school, we used to play Axis and Allies a lot.
No.
But we would play it in like weird variations, so there'd be usually there are two sides. It's the Axis and the Allies, but we'd play it so it'd just be like 5 different teams or whatever. Everyone's
game.
And so you'd make alliances and stuff. And the problem is with alliances, eventually you have to break the alliance to win the game, but I could never do it because it just didn't seem right. Like, you can't make an alliance with someone and then break the alliance. That's what that first thing was like for me. It's like, I know I have to lie to have any chance in this game, but I can't tell a lie just for this stupid game. I did eventually. I mean, that's ridiculous, but it's just like so stressful to me to.
That's strange. I have no trouble saying that I have the banana if I don't.
Well, you don't have any trouble.
It wouldn't even occur to me to feel bad about that.
Well, Ben, you're a liar by nature.
Arguably. I always technically tell the truth.
Yeah, okay. Not always, if you say you have the banana when you don't.
Well, technically, maybe I do. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, let's see you wriggle your way out of this one.
It's an advanced lying strategy.
So I'm surprised that all of you claimed to have found this game terrible. In my experience teaching it to people in person, usually people think the rules sound crazy and that that's an extremely simple game. But then when they start playing it, they have fun and play it a couple times, then move on to something else.
Yeah, they move on because it's a terrible game.
Yeah, I agree.
No, they move on because you can't keep playing the same game all day. Play the game a couple times, then play another game.
Times really maxes out the possibilities worth considering.
There are a lot of possibilities. If you could get any one of these 3 cards, and your strategy is very different depending on which one you get.
Okay, Ben, why did you recommend this game?
Well, because I thought would illustrates the interesting about the space of games. It's about like games where the rules themselves aren't the main point. It's the emergent behavior it encourages. In this case, 2 people claiming to be a banana.
Like how diplomacy is really a stealth way to ruin friendships.
Yeah. Yeah, but crucially, win-lose banana is much faster than diplomacy.
And it doesn't ruin friendships.
I don't know. It might have put our friendship with Ben in some jeopardy.
I don't know. Vincent, is this even in the top 4 most obnoxious suggestions that Ben has given you?
When have I given an obnoxious suggestion?
Nobody liked your suggestion last week but me.
That wasn't an obnoxious suggestion, though. It's just one where not everybody got anything out of it.
Yeah.
The avocado smoothie, I guess, was a little... I don't know if I'd say obnoxious, but it was bothersome because of the effort involved, and then because it ended up being terrible for.
Yeah,
that's not their fault.
Now that kind of is my fault because I really should have mailed you an avocado for that one.
So the top 4, yeah, this is definitely in the top 4 most obnoxious suggestions. It's vying for the top spot. And not just from Ben, from anyone. And not just from SuggestCast. Really, anything that anyone has ever suggested to me my entire life. This is up there.
I feel like it might help illustrate why the Turing test isn't a very interesting test for intelligence.
Maybe. I don't know. How good would computers be at win-lose banana?
I mean, you know, about at a certain point they'll be as good as humans, which is to say they will claim to have the banana.
Well, yeah, but can they really sell you on that? I honestly don't know if computers can play it as well as humans at this point.
Vincent came up with interesting strategies where he that would depend on having the card in front of you, and he was like going to describe the font in which the word banana was written.
Yeah, the problem there is that kind of depends on the person with the win card having knowledge of that. Although there is some things you can do just based on being able to plausibly make claims about the word banana that somebody might not be able to make up on the fly.
Yeah, I think if you're holding a card, you could engage more in that kind of conversation in a plausible way. You'd have more bullshit to throw out.
Alright, I bet I could do that, even just holding a lose card up and looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably good at the game.
Well, I'm decent at it. I don't win every time. I'd say about half the time.
That's a really weird standard. Like, there's very few games where somebody wins every time. There's that one guy who is apparently the best human being in the universe at Scrabble. Like, do you know who I'm talking about? Some guy who's like literally like.
There's nobody who's literally undefeated at Scrabble.
No, not undefeated, but like is in his own category in terms of like tournament win percentage, and then like also in terms of limiting points against or whatever. I read some article about it because it was the Scrabble tournament was in Buffalo this year, like a week ago.
Oh, that's right. Did you go?
No.
No.
And that's a great story. Let's talk about let's give some thumbs up and some thumbs down, or maybe just.
Right, Vincent, nickname Watkins, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Def Left. Nickname would be a good name for him.
I regret that we've been limited to one thumb apiece to give down to bad suggestions.
I
Moving on to Matt.
Thumb to give for my country. All right, so Vincent thumbs down the suggestion.
All right. Lewis?
Did Matt also?
No, I haven't voted yet.
Okay, go for it.
From right to left.
I kind of want to give it a thumbs up solely because it was so obnoxious.
Sounds good. Lewis?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a thumbs up because I will reference Win-Lose Banana when I want to explain a game that is not worth playing.
Well, I'm giving it a thumbs up, but not for that reason. I think it is worth playing. I think, like Rock, Paper, Scissors, this is a game that you should be familiar with and have played a couple times.
I think Rock, Paper, Scissors is a way more important game to be familiar with than this.
Yeah, and if I thought that some of you had not played Rock, Paper, Scissors, maybe I would have suggested it.
Yeah. All right, Vincent is upset because wait, Matt, what did you give it?
Thumbs up.
Why'd you give it a thumbs up?
Because it was
it's a fun game.
Just to be a dick.
I feel like Matt always has vicious things to say about it and then goes for the thumbs up just to be perplexing.
Matt is the judge on a talent show who makes the terrible act come back just to annoy Simon Lake Owl.
Wait, so that makes him the Paula Abdul, I guess?
Is that who does that?
Well, so Paula Abdul was the one who always gave people like passes when everybody else thought they didn't deserve it. Randy was the one who would just say, "You're my dog," or other things like that. And like there was very little content to his criticism, but he wasn't like especially easy on people in terms of the up-down. And then Simon was the mean one. All right, let's talk about RinkWorks.
All right. So who here read all of Rankworks?
Well, I didn't read all of it. I read like 4.
I read like 80.
I read probably about 20 or 30 of them.
Sorry, I just read another one. I like it because I hated the book that it was based.
Yeah, I think I read all of the classics ones, all of the bedtime stories ones. Well, children's stories really, but they call it book at bedtime.
That's a lot of these.
I read about half of the science fiction fantasy ones and like a quarter of the movie ones.
I feel like these are kind of hit or miss from the ones that I read. Like, I'm going to give an example.
Please do.
So the collected works of Jane Austen, the uber summary is, female lead, I secretly love male lead, he must never know. Male lead, I secretly love female lead, she must never know. They find out, the end. Now, I've only read a couple of Jane Austen books, but that did not resonate with me very well. Maybe if I'd read a different subset of Jane Austen's novels, then that would have worked much better. But then they also have one just for Pride and Prejudice, so I clicked on that one. And Pride and Prejudice is amazing, because I love this book. And here's their summary. Mr. Darcy, nothing is good enough for me. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, I could never marry that proud man. And then in stage direction, they change their minds. The end. And that is like a fantastic mocking summary of that book. He's proud, she's prejudiced, they change their minds. Like, that's it. So, like, it's like, maybe like just the more specificity helps there, but then the Don Quixote one was also awesome.
Yeah.
Don Quixote, chivalry demands I destroy that evil thing. Sancho Panza, no master, it is thing ordinary and harmless. Don Quixote falls down. The end. Like, that does a really good job of summarizing how worthless of an experience it is to read Don Quixote. Because it is that 100 times with like more puking and frat humor. So anyway, some of these are very good. Some of them were not so good. But sorry, I shouldn't dominate. Who else was? Ben, I think I interrupted you to say that. So keep going with what you were saying. You read
Yeah,
about.
I liked how a lot of them end with somebody dying in stage directions.
Well, that's more a byproduct of the structure of storytelling, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the humor comes... There were a lot of them where it spends a while on opening sections of a book and then gives a really short summary of the rest of the book. Best example I can find of that is The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Summary is, Ancient Mariner, I am creepy and old, listen to me. Wedding guest, I'm late, but I'll listen. Ancient Mariner, I killed an albatross, then everyone died. The end. And a lot of them have that kind of pattern where, like, the first 80% of the summary describes the first 20% of the book or whatever. Which is a good effect. I'm not criticizing it on that. I think that heightens the humor. This kind of makes the actual meat of the novel sound more absurd and pathetic.
Right. But it makes the summaries a little bit more predictable if you've read the book.
A little bit. I mean, I think if I had tried to generate summaries like this for books I'd read without reading their summary, I don't know how many would have come up close to how they did it. Seems like there's a lot of room for interpretation.
So let me draw attention to another one that I think is not a well-executed one.
All right.
The Catcher in the Rye. Now, this should be a really easy thing to do a good job parodying, because so many people place so much importance on it. It's such a widespread cultural touchstone, and like Holden Caulfield is such an easily pitiable or parodyable character. But they just go for like the like really
Surface.
It strikes me as lazy. Here's what it says. Holden Caulfield. Angst, angst, angst. Swear, curse. Swear, crazy, crazy. Angst, swear, curse. Society sucks and I'm a stupid jerk.
Yeah,
And
those sort of summaries didn't do much for me.
that feels very much like that feels like almost a level below Mad Magazine parodies, because they didn't even put in like a stupid pun. Like, literally all they did was have somebody go like, "Duh, I'm an idiot." Like,
Full duh awful.
yeah. Ben, how do you not have a job writing for Mad Magazine?
I'm an unjustly overlooked freelancer.
They're not doing well enough financially to afford Ben's fees.
All right, Matt, let's hear it. Let's hear some of your thoughts on these things.
I thought they were pretty good and not too long.
That is, I'll say this: if they were long, they would have missed the boat on how they were pitching them.
Right. I could have. I'm trying to guess why Vincent suggested this. I think it's because he feels it was such a big part of like his early internet days, is what I'm guessing, because a lot of these seem to go back pretty far. In fact, like the meat of all the reviews seem to be stuff that was popular in like the early '90s or whatever, particularly the movies, I guess. But
had you really never read the site before this suggestion?
no, I'd never even heard of it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's weird to me.
Yeah, see, if somebody had sent me this link backwards in time, I could have seen myself really being into this site,
Mm-hmm.
But I just sort of missed it. I think it's interesting that he seems to hate the writing in Dune as much as he does, despite having apparently read like 4 or 5 of the novels.
Yeah, that did stand out a bit.
The Dune summaries are just about how bad of a writer he is.
wait, I gotta read this, and I didn't read any of this. Where's Dune? I mean, I'll say this: the Dune books get progressively worse with each subsequent one.
Sure. Well, I don't know that. I've never read all the Dune novels.
Oh,
so.
wow. Yeah, they're not even summaries of the book. They're just Frank Herbert challenging the reader to parse the sentences.
Right. It's like, yeah, he really hates Dune, but look how much of it he's read. Stop.
And there are also some on here where the summaries are about the process of making the book.
Wait, go to the Children of Dune one.
Okay.
People do stuff that is out of character. People do stuff that makes no sense. Cool Arabic-type words and names are said, making Frank Herbert look smart and cool. That's not just, like, being upset with Frank Herbert. That is clearly somebody who is motivated by caring a lot about the series. Like, they must really like it to be that upset about how out of character people are in the 3rd novel.
Now, I'll note that summary is credited to Jaime Green, who I don't think is one of the regulars.
They're all. I think he even told us that they weren't all written by the same people.
Right, it's mostly by David J. Parker, I think.
None of these Dune ones are written by the same person, actually. Hang on.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice.
Lewis is on the case.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, and I think Vincent told us that when he said it. When he suggested it, I think he mentioned that they weren't all written by the same people.
And I think it's mostly by the same group, but isn't there a bit on there where they say get people to make their own summaries sometimes and occasionally use them?
Oh.
I'm sorry. I opened up the Xanth series and
Yeah.
friends, let's go on a quest and have a pun time. That's the teenage main character. That's like like that clumsy of a pun being worked in. I love it. Gratuitous love interest. Okay. Sidekick with a body composed of parts from 29 distinct species. Okay. Boring old adult. Good luck. Don't forget your honor. Teenage main character and friends go out and have a quest, then they come back. Teenage main character. I've had enough adventure. Gratuitous love interest. Let's get married and have kids so they can have adventures of their own. Here's Anthony. I rule, I rule. Thanks to Julie Spofford of Burbank, Illinois for the quest idea. Frederick Treespoon of Malhoopie, North Carolina for the Friends idea. Susie Kellerman of Gunky, Louisiana for the Good Luck line. And Norwood G. Dimble of New Spurtle, Nevada for the Fun Pun Pun. That is so perfect. Yeah. You know, with suggestions like this, I understand why Vincent is upset when our suggestions don't live up to his... Like... He's providing us with quality here in a way that we are not necessarily providing him with quality.
Okay, the goal of SuggestCast is not to pick things of high quality. I harp on this every episode.
Ben, it's like you think that we're stuck with these rules that we set up for the thing. But we aren't.
Well, that's because I'm an order Muppet and you're a chaos Muppet.
No, I'm the order Muppet.
Well, then how come you don't want to follow these arbitrary rules?
Because they're arbitrary. So let's
Well, that's why I'm a chaos Muppet, because I'm insisting on the letter of these rules to your detriment.
Okay. Look at the Good Omens one. Like this is worthless. This Good Omens one is literally worthless to me. I apologize, Samuel Stoddard.
He's one of the regulars.
But like this is just a worthless summary. There's not even a joke there.
Have you read Good Omens?
Yes.
See, I think this would be even more worthless if you had not read it.
That's true. So I guess it can't technically be entirely worthless since I could be worse off. But it's not providing any value, I'll say that. Vincent, do you have a list somewhere of which people are good at these? Oh, another one to just look at briefly, the Sixth Sense one. I find very interesting because it leaves out perhaps the most salient fact about the movie.
Well, that's good. You don't want to spoil that.
No, these things are supposed to spoil. It's very weird that it does not include the most well-known spoiler in cinema, like modern cinema.
I mean,
Kind of does
the Sixth Sense is kind of irrelevant. Maybe that's why. I'm looking at the summary now. I see dead people. Try talking to them. It worked. That's a good summary, and it does illustrate why the twist in the Sixth Sense, which I'm carefully not spoiling here, is kind of pointless.
Except that is like the movie wasn't very good except for that twist.
I like the films of David Lynch summary.
Where's that?
Yeah.
It's in the movie section under the films of David Lynch.
Yeah, found it. I do enjoy my nice, idyllic lifestyle, but I hope that underneath my seemingly perfect suburban world there's corruption and evil. Some woman discovers her own corpse and is arrested. Midget. Someday that gum you like is going to come back in style. Hitman laughs cryptically. An eye is slit open with a razor blade. We learn that somebody was really some woman all along, and they were on the moon at the end. See, but that's more,
Parody?
yeah. It's parody and pastiche, I guess, because it's mixing in actual elements of things. But it's not getting at the common core framework. It's like writing its own slightly crazy remix of David Lynch.
Oh, okay, well, I won't say.
Let me look at The Matrix.
Alright, so here's one that I found kind of noteworthy. It's the summary of Xenocide and Children of the Mind by Orson Scott Card.
Yeah.
Barbara Bova. Good news, Orson Scott Card. I've sold the Ender trilogy overseas. Orson Scott Card. Count them again, Barbara Bova. Barbara Bova. Horror. On closer inspection, I see there are only two. Quick, you must write a third. He does. This is too long. Split into 2 books. He does. These suck. There's not a single character in here that can make a simple decision without agonizing over it for pages. Fix that. He doesn't. The end.
Who is Barbara Bova?
Science fiction editor.
Okay. So you wanted to, what did you want to say about this one?
Well, I thought it's neat that occasionally these summaries are not about the books themselves so much as the imagined process of making them.
I saw.
I think this is the only one where it goes so far as to have the publisher as a character speaking in it. And no, there might be others. I don't know, there may be one where it's like Herman Melville talking to Herman Melville's publisher.
The Little Women one is somewhat close to that. Let me see.
Oh, yeah. But she doesn't like writing the book, but it makes some money.
So, one thing I want to make sure to mention, I'm not going to suggest it as a suggestion or anything because it's too similar to what Vincent suggested, but it's going to tip my hand that I'm giving a thumbs up.
I'll allow it.
So, Ben, you know Rod from
Rod who? Wait,
lived on
Rod who? Oh, yeah, Rod.
So he started doing this thing when he was in college where he would write abridged versions of movie scripts that were comical. It was like a comical review format where it was just this abridged script format. Like it was formatted like
that.
blah, blah, blah. And it's become sort of big on the internet. It's called The Editing Room. And it does for movies what a lot of these movie reviews are doing. It's not quite as brief. It's not, I mean, it's usually about the length of like a blog post instead of the length of like a paragraph or whatever. But
Oh, that sounds much too long.
but like some of them are amazingly good. Like the Transformers one just is pretty perfect for the first Transformers movie, not the 1984 one, the
second
first Michael Bay one, where he'll have the characters step out of describing what they're doing and sometimes just describe how ridiculous the movie is. So
I'm Michael Bay, wah wah wah, that sort of thing.
No. Well, so here's an example. Megan Fox has a line here, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. Okay. Megan, so it's in the middle of a conversation when the Transformers are doing the thing where they're hiding at Shia LaBeouf's house. And he just has a Megan Fox line here that says, "I can't believe someone made a movie where the scenes in which the gigantic toy robots fight each other are the least ridiculous scenes in it." Which I like as a criticism of that movie. Anyway. Point is, when I was reading these RinkWorks entries, it really reminded me of Rod's site, but I know that the RinkWorks site seems to have come like way earlier, so I feel like it's a good touchstone point for like this sort of snarky internet commentary. That's why I wanted to mention that. All right, Vincent, we should probably let you talk a bit about your criteria for suggesting.
Okay. Well, here's what I think is kind of interesting about these. Number one, I think they're pretty funny. There were more lame ones than I remembered. Like as I was before I went back and read them, I thought that they were pretty much all really funny with a few stinkers. I don't know. They might be closer to like half and half or something, or maybe even that's giving them too much credit. It's not like the bad ones are terrible, but the ones that really made me laugh, they were not as thick as I remembered them. But I still think it's pretty good. Well, kind of what the process. I mean, you start reading them, or at least the experience I've had with showing it to other people is people read them and they think they're funny, and they kind of take it as just like a take that to these books that they've never read that they probably don't ever want to read. Kind of like
I didn't get that at all.
Well, and then they get to some book that they read or a movie that they liked or something, and then they're like, hey, that's not fair. That's not really what But I think what's clear about this is that they're not really suggesting that these books and movies should be dismissed as being no better than these summaries of them. Like it's a joke, but not only that, they're not really suggesting like that the collected works of Jane Austen are so worthless that it's really just this can be summarized in 2 sentences and it's all the same thing. Even when they're extremely nasty about the works that they're reading, I don't get the impression that they honestly dislike the book so much. And in fact, I think that their summaries are often as funny or funnier when they're about works that are better than how they look on paper, but you read it and you have to kind of say like, yeah, I guess that kind of is pretty much the whole story.
So like the Pride and Prejudice one, for instance, I think I could imagine it being written in either of 2 tones of voice, and one of them is a very affectionate sort of like joke about it, and the other one is like, maybe they were being dismissive, but I didn't read it that way, so that's why I was able to respond to it. If I thought of them as doing it like in this real sneering way, I would not have liked that. But like it just read to me like, yeah, that is what happens in the book. That's what happens if you just hit those 2 plot points.
Yeah, and I think there's so much, like with the sci-fi fantasy series, where they'll take a series and they've got a summary of 5 books in a row or something, where clearly they like the series enough to write it, but they're poking fun at something that they like. And it's the same deal with movies. I mean, they take like clearly great movies. Like I mentioned Citizen Kane before, but I think Citizen Kane is a good one, not to be particularly funny, but in that I think it's a fairly good summary of the movie, where I'm pulling up right now. Okay, Orson Welles, Rosebud, dies. Reporter, what does it mean? Everybody else, we don't know. The end. That pretty much is summarized the entire movie. Is just the reporter going around asking people, what do these last words mean, and nobody knows what they mean. Of course, they left out the spoiler end, or the twist ending, if you want to call it that. But I feel like that's a pretty good summary of the movie. And what's interesting to me about the Rinksworks summaries is that a lot of times outside of a comedy context, you'll see somebody criticizing a movie or trying to say that a movie is stupid, and they will do a Rinkworks type thing to it. Maybe not clever or funny, but they'll like summarize the plot in 2 or 3 sentences in a way that makes it seem really obvious or stupid or pointless. But what this demonstrates is that you can do that for pretty much any work that you want to, even the greatest books and movies that were ever made. And it doesn't really indicate anything about the quality of the work. And what reading these kinds of summaries of books and movies that I like sometimes makes me do is think, well, what you've got there in that summary is clearly not what is so great about the movie. That's clearly not what's so great about the book. So what is so great about the movie or the book? You know, I like the book Animal Farm. I think their summary of Animal Farm is actually pretty decent, where they run through the symbolism of all the characters in a few sentences and then say, you know, that's what this book's all about. So if that
That's
really
one of their 2 summaries of Animal Farm.
well, I didn't want to run through it because that's actually one of their longer ones. That's like
Yeah, the second summary is just some animals do funny stuff.
But you read that and it's like, well, it's true. It's the summary, the symbolism of Animal Farm is pretty aptly captured within a few sentences. So it clearly can't be the case that just the symbolism in the book is what makes it great. Well, then what is it? What do you like about the book? And it's in some cases it's just the traditional novel element, but in some cases it's a little more difficult to put your finger on what is it that's so great about this book, given that the major aspects of it can be summarized in this way that it captures them pretty completely and maybe points out how kind of senseless they are. So I think it's interesting both in because they're funny things in their own right, and it kind of infects the way. I think it changed the way that I think and talk too. Ben and I were talking about it earlier this week. My use of all caps sometimes when I'm typing things to emphasize certain words.
Yeah.
Certainly from Rinkworks. That's something they use to great effect. Sort of imitating the convention from screenwriting, but they use it in some context where it probably wouldn't make sense in an actual screenplay, but it works really well.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens. That's the thing that happens on the site that I was describing that Rod does, where they do a lot of humor involving which things they capitalize, like stage directions. So I just want to mention before one more. It might be my absolute favorite that I've read. It's the summary of The Lady or the Tiger.
Yeah.
It's just the tiger! ! The end.
Oh, there was another work where the summary was just "See the Lady or the Tiger," but I can't remember what it was.
The David Eddings one, the summary of the Malorion is just "See Belgariad," I think.
That's funny because I read
pretty good.
You're high.
Yeah.
Well, like 38 of them. They were the same book so many times. I really liked that one book, so I kept rereading it in under different titles.
Yeah, he wrote it well.
To build a fire is also pretty good. Sometimes you need to build a fire to keep warm, but you can't, and you freeze to death. The end. Oh, so Vincent, while you were talking about that, it reminded me that that's a thing that I do on my Doctor Who mockery blog. Is I always start with the summary of the episode, and often what I do is I describe 2 plot points from the episode, suggesting that is the sum total of what goes on in the episode, for the purpose of minimizing and suggesting that it's not much is going on there. But you're right that you can do that even to things that are good. I choose a target that deserves it, but you could do it to any target, as this site does illustrate. All right,
Well,
so
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I've talked that one out.
I'm gonna.
There's one more summary on here I want to read, and then
Okay.
I think we should go to final assessments. It's
Yeah.
summary of if you give a mouse a cookie, don't give anything to anyone. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, good advice.
Yeah.
All right, so hopscotch, up or down?
I'm going to say up.
All right.
I think this is an example of summarizing works done extremely well and humorously. I think really in situations where you're trying to make funny summaries of things, this is basically the gold standard to work from.
All right. So it's a strong up. Raptor?
Yeah, it's an easy up.
Well, no, for me that was a medium up, not a strong up. My assessment of its quality does not figure into this.
But if you're calling it the gold standard of, that literally means you think it's an important reference point for any time you're evaluating summary humor. Which
Yeah, well,
would be a strong up.
No, fair enough.
All right. Easy up from Matt, strong up from Ben. I guess I go next. Yeah, I will also give it an up. Unmodified up. Simpliciter. Up simpliciter.
All right.
I agree with the things that have been said, and I think, yeah, I'll just stop there.
All right, so that's all up so far. Vincent?
Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up. It was not as solid as I remembered, but it's still very good, and definitely something that I keep coming back to time and again. I'll be glad to be able to reference it to people now.
Here's the other thing, though, Vincent. What you need to do is you need to see if there is a more narrow recommendation you could give of this. Namely, are there writers of these who are consistently good, or is the hit or miss spread sort of randomly throughout?
Well,
You can't really browse it by writer.
they're mostly done by the two people who run the site, who are David Parker and Samuel Stoddard. So, I mean, they're responsible for most of the good ones and for most of the bad ones. I should have narrowed down my suggestion, though, but I didn't go back and look at it before.
That's fine. I just meant I would be curious to know if, like, the really funny ones came from a certain set of people and the really unfunny ones came from a certain set of people. I was seeing a lot of names when I was clicking on random ones, so I think it might be more group project-y than... But I wasn't doing, like, a count or anything.
I think some of the stranger ones usually come from other people. Like Taxi Driver is summarized with a limerick, and
Oh, I didn't read that one.
the movie Doom is just summarized with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson saying "IDDQD" by just some person. But kind of like novelty ones like that are often done by just reader submission. Other than that, it's all Parker and Stoddard, I think.
Oddly, the Taxi Driver limerick is by Sam Stoddard.
Oh, so that was a bad example.
Yeah, I think we get where you're getting at anyway.
So,
On the Duty of Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. Chant. And then the stage direction doesn't. All right. So,
oh wait, I know. We keep saying one more. This is the one I really like. The Errand Boy, directed by Jerry Lewis. The summary is: Jerry Lewis falls down. The end.
So it's based on Don Quixote, you're suggesting.
Yeah, but without all the build-up.
Without all the chivalry.
Some of these aren't as funny to read out loud, and that's certainly one of them. But I really like that, and that's the kind of phrase that and it's indeed Don Quixote too, but it's kind of phrase that I reuse too, just to signify kind of like generic, uninspired physical comedy, like, oh, somebody falls down. All right, I'm done talking
All
about
right,
it.
let's move
Alright.
on to our
Time for
suggestion.
suggestions.
Lewis, would you like to go first?
I am moderating Hopscotch.
I thought I was moderating.
Well, I took you back for a while because you weren't doing it.
All right. Now let's see. I have two possibilities. Has everyone here seen the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T already?
Oh my God, you are trying to torture us.
What? No, it's a good movie. I'm not suggesting it because it's good, but I do believe it's good.
It's not a good movie, and there's no need to reference it ever.
I often reference it in daily life. Matt, Vincent, have you two both seen it?
I've not seen it.
I've seen it, but it was over a decade ago.
All right, that's my suggestion.
All right.
The film The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, written or produced or something by Dr. Seuss.
All right.
Not directed, I don't think.
All right, Raptor, do you have a suggestion this week?
No, not really.
I don't know what not really means. Is that a no?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
We'll get back to him later.
Vance Watkins, MD, do you have one?
Yes. I don't want to recommend another whole Ralph Bakshi movie, but I want to recommend the beginning of a movie called Coonskin that he did. And what's that?
Is this going to be really racist?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Lewis, that means no, not all.
Well, remember,
Coonskin. I don't know how we could get into racial trouble.
there's a lot of interesting story with that movie that I won't go into, I guess. But I think it's kind of like the same way that Ben and I both watch Fritz the Cat, and Ben thinks that maybe it's a little racist, and I think it's totally the opposite. Like, it's completely anti-racist. Like, the same argument, I think, is going to come up with Coonskin.
You just want to have an argument again?
What's that?
You just want to have that argument again? Should we just direct?
No. That was like a background issue with Fritz the Cat. With Coonskin, that's the movie, and I don't want to say any more about it. I think you'll watch it and you won't feel like you've been cheated. Like, it's not just the same thing over again. Watch it from the beginning of the movie, but what I really want you to see is the song that starts the movie. So just start from the beginning. After the song that they perform at the beginning, you can stop watching if you want.
Yeah.
And my suggestion, I had threatened to suggest doing a group watch of Garbage Pail Kids, which I don't, because I don't honestly know that there's any value to get from being able to reference that later. Like, just if you wanted to be like, yeah, that was a fiasco, I guess you could do it, but there's a lot of fiascos out there. So, so my suggestion is going to be reading the short story Hell is the Absence of God by Ted Chiang. Now, Ben, I know you've read that.
I have. I think I originally recommended it to you.
That is possible. Matt and Vincent, have you guys read that?
No.
All right, perfect. So some people haven't read it. Awesome. So I can give you guys. I have access to it in a way I can share with you if you guys don't have the short story collection.
The short story collection, by the way, is titled Stories of Your Life and Others.
Yeah.
I was just now looking at it on my bookshelf to remember that.
But somebody posted the whole text on a website one time, and I think it's in archive.org. So worst case scenario, I'll give you the archive.org link, and you can read it that way.
Okay.
All right, and Matt, your suggestion.
No, Matt said he didn't have one.
I thought we said we'd come back to him.
No, he said not really, and then I said, is that a no? And you said it's a no, and we moved on to Vincent.
Matt, is that accurate?
Yeah.
What happened? There's a transcript. We can go back and watch it. That's exactly what happened.
Well, I don't want to relive history like that.
Okay. Made it to the flames. All right, Matt, do you have one?
No.
I just established he doesn't.
All right, so Matt's suggestion is to be asked a number of times if you have a suggestion and say no. Do we have like a closing? Do we have a thing we do at the end? Do we say goodbye?
Yeah, there's a closing jingle.
Matt, sing it.
Uh,
Oh no! We close with Vincent giving us a berry suggestion.
Oh yeah, as we've done every episode up till now. We don't want to break that streak.
Exactly.
Oh. it should be so easy, but sometimes it's hard to get into character for that stuff.
I'll give you a word to go off of. It's gonna be
Bill,
like
help.
hedgehog.
Oh, all right. So what we want to do this week is just take like two crayons of your choice, but they both have to start with the same letter. So like you could use red, and like radish. If you've got a radish colored crayon, you can use red and radish. Or if you've got a pink crayon, you can use pink. And well, I can't think of a root vegetable that starts with P. But you take your two crayons, and I want you to draw a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog, but not like in the universe that we know, but what like Sonic like in the universe where those crayons are like the only two crayons. Like you've got the crayons, and they start with you got those two crayons, and then the universe where Sonic's from. That's the Sonic that I want you to draw. So draw that Sonic with those crayons. It's like the Sonic of the crayons. Those two crayons are the crayons for Sonic. So draw that Sonic.
We're ending every episode this way from now on. All right, thank you for listening. Ben, take us off the air.
We've been your SuggestCast. Have a nice night.
We're still live. Take us off the air.
Okay.
Ben, take us off the air.
I want to see how long I can hold this.
It's one button. Take it off the
My cursor is right over